the head coach of your George Mason Patriots, Kim English. This is the Kim English Coaches Show. We're at the Glory Days Grill in Barkoff Plaza in Falls Church, and welcome to everyone here and everybody watching on YouTube and Facebook Live as well. Coach, it's been a bit of a whirlwind here.
Yeah.
Last time we were here doing the Coaches Show was prior to the Maryland game, and we've played 5 games since then in 8 days was the course of the schedule. So before we get to everything that went on in South Dakota and all those things, the most important question, I guess, would be, how was Thanksgiving for you?
It was good. It was great. Got to spend Thanksgiving with my daughters, and try to enjoy it as much as I could. But just, once you get into season mode, you're just ready to get back to action, and it was ready to get back to practice.
No cooking really for you then?
No cooking, just eating. That's
the best way to do it.
Yeah.
In the post-game press conference after Nevada, you were more happy with the results that you saw on film in the Nevada game than you were in the Washington game. And I'm sure for an average person, you go, wait a minute, 3-point loss, you had a chance to tie to 19. How is that possible?
Yeah, I'm not really emotional at the moment after games, because I want to dissect the film and really see. Grant Sherfield had a game going. He did a really good job. We weren't doing what we were supposed to do in our ball screens. And when I really watched it, it was a tie game with about, I think, 11 minutes to go.
Right.
And it came down to them making shots and us missing shots. Like, shot quality is a big thing for us. Like, the quality of the shots that we give up, the quality of the shots that we create. Sometimes it's a make or miss game, and there's some things you can do to really help your chances in that regard, which we didn't do. Giving open threes to good shooters. Cambridge had a night. Unacceptable. Having Will Baker get to his left hand. Unacceptable. That's not a make or miss thing. But some of the shots that they got were very similar to shots that some of our best shooters got, and they didn't go in.
Talk about being out there in South Dakota, as you brought it up here. Before you get to the games necessarily, the building that the tournament was played in, so much history that they put out there on the concourse, from South Dakota high school basketball all the way back to the 1920s. I know you're kind of a guy that understands the history. How cool is that as you're walking through, whether it's for practice before games, to see all of that there in that arena?
Yeah, it's a great venue, really good venue for college basketball. Good acoustics, good respectful fans that I felt like really enjoyed the game and what was happening on the court. It was a first-class tournament.
When you go back and look the last game against South Dakota State, one of the things that you said, I'm going to try to do this without getting you in trouble here, but in the post-game press conference, you said afterwards that your staff and other coaches watch more film than anybody else. Yeah. That coaches are always trying to figure out how to get fouls called for the other team, or where fouls come from. You weren't real happy with some of the officiating out there, but I thought the way you handled that, rather than a coach coming up there and blowing up or saying some things he doesn't want to, you explained it in a way that, again, to the average person, this makes perfect sense, that you knew which spots on the floor you could get fouls called. You knew how to go about doing it, you just didn't get those whistles.
Yeah, and I have great respect for refereeing. Our director of officials, Brian Kersey, I am constantly sending him clips, not just of our games, stuff from other games, questioning, because for me, the coach's relationships with officials is really important, because for me, it's how we teach things. When I'm talking to officials, sometimes I'll say, "Tell me, am I teaching it wrong?" Like this, he's done exactly what we taught him. Against South Dakota State, Deshaun Schwartz did exactly what we teach. At the end of the drive, if someone's in front of you, to shot fake. If they go for the shot fake, go into their body, create the contact, and finish. And I thought us and South Dakota State played the same game for the most part. Really relied on our inside guys to create scoring opportunities inside and draw and create threes outside. We shot the same amount of threes. We had pretty much the same amount of production from our inside guy, Josh, versus their two. And seeing a foul count of 24-8 was disappointing. But again, that's not why we lost the game. You know, they shot 60% from the field. That's an us problem. 60% from the field has nothing to do with officiating. Those are field goals. Those are baskets, field goals going through the hoop. So our program, you know, what we can't control officiating. What we can control is us getting back to defense, and we're going to get back to why we're going to be a good program, and that's defense and rebounding. We're hitting the mark in the rebounding column. I think we're ninth in the country in defense rebound percentage. We have to meet the mark as far as getting teams to miss shots.
One of the other things that you've talked about in some of the post-game press conferences has to do with building a culture. And you have a new staff, you have new players, you have a whole conglomerate that you're trying to bring together. Was there something on these trips that you saw that you feel like it's getting closer? And when you talk about breaking bad habits, how do you go about doing that in practice?
Yeah, it's a great question. I do. You know, I felt I'm always one of our core values are four: toughness, competitiveness, work ethic, and humility. The humility part was put to a test after Maryland. On that drive down to Harrisonburg after the game, you know, I deleted my Twitter account. Like, I didn't want to hear anything. I wanted to, like, lock into JMU because I knew that it was such a big game. I implored our guys about that, you know, how big of a game it was. You know, there is something cool, right? It was cool, you know, disappointing for us not to be where we needed to be against JMU, but it was cool to walk into a venue and be the hunted. You know, walk in there like Coach L's teams surely used to in the early 2000s, right, mid-2000s, whatever it was. And you know, see a team, you know, it meant something to beat us because of what we had done those previous 4 games, which was nothing. You know, it's nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's 4 games. But to see our guys continue to fight, like, again, the areas that we fell short in South Dakota, like, I almost can say it wasn't our guys' fault. It was the coaching staff's fault. You know, it was their habits. It's a habit. Every time a pass is made, to jump to the ball. When you see a teammate be in there giving first bounce help, closing out with a high hand every single time. Every time a shot goes up, looking to find somebody, like, it's not taught until it's learned. So I'm not disappointed in our guys at all. I mean, they like, we're gonna build the habits. Right. And we were back in the gym at 7:45 this morning. We'll be in there at 7:45 a.m. tomorrow, and we're gonna get back to where we were from September 28th to November 9th, when we were better with our habits. When you play a schedule like we played over that stretch, you're relying solely on your habits. We don't have time to practice, to talk about, you know, this team does this more. We could talk about it a little bit, but I mean, you were there. Right. We ate breakfast, we introduced a new team, we walked through in a ballroom, and we played that night. Whereas we have a week to prepare for ODU. We had a week to prepare for Stony Brook and all those different opponents. So it's on us to get the guys' habits where we know they need to be to operate at a championship level consistently.
But in breaking the habits, is it just blowing the whistle, stopping in practice every 5 minutes if you have to? Is it, okay, you know what, if this continues, you can't play? Is it threatening? I mean, how do you go about breaking habits that some of these guys have probably carried since they were in junior high?
They have. You know, we don't move on. You know, we won't move on until you do it to our standard. And some things are, you know, just program things. You know, if we're on defense in practice, Dwayne Simpkins is in charge of defensive rebounding. If someone ball watches and doesn't box out, their whole team is on the line and they run. You know, if someone closed out with a high hand, we stop the drill. You start over. Like, you know, there's you know, I don't even like to call them punishments, but there are teachable moments. There are corrections. That's a great word. There are corrections where we just won't move on until we're consistently operating at our standard, and until it is a habit. You know, we have a quote of the week every week, and one of them for surely was, you know, you are what you are what you repeatedly do. You know, excellence is a habit, not a skill. And we're going to keep working until our habits are excellent.
It's funny because I go back and I don't remember which game it was. It may have been the last of the 3 home games that we started the season with, you were quoting Kipling, I think it was. And it brought me back because years ago, over 20 years ago now, Paul Westhead was the coach here when I was here, and he would quote Shakespeare all the time. And I found it fascinating when he would do it. What is it about coaches or basketball coaches, or maybe just a happenstance that you both were quoting great writers? What is it about coaches that want to grab a hold of these quotes from people that you wouldn't think? I mean, understandable if you're quoting Bobby Knight or Vince Lombardi or something like that, but
no, I think we're a part of the higher education process, and that's important for me. I want our guys' education to extend beyond the classroom and into our space. I read a lot. I think Kipling was a brilliant writer, and it's the poem If. And it's funny. Deshaun texted me after one of our games. He was like, "Why are you so calm right now?" And I don't just say it after wins, right? If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, like losing is a byproduct. It's a result of all the actions in the game, of all the times you didn't close out to Cambridge, or you let Eric Ayala get off those 3 threes at the end of the Maryland game. Right? And a mistake I made in coaching, right? I'm learning. So any other time, we watch game film the next day. When I thought the James Madison game was so close and important, I was ready to push Maryland aside and move on to James Madison. And so we didn't break down Maryland, and I'm kicking myself to this day about it, because if I would have showed the team film of Maryland and those 3 Eric Ayala threes at the end of the game, all 3 were low hand closeouts. If I would have made a big deal of that, like I would have if we would have had 3 days to prepare for JMU or 2 days, I think Malik Henry would have had a high hand against Vado Morse at JMU, and it would have took 10 minutes, So, I truly believe losing is a very small moment in time. The winning or the losing takes place within the 40 minutes we have to play. And, I truly do treat them the same. I treat winning and losing exactly the same. You learn from it. What did we do great? What could we do better? Move on to the next one, because, we have our schedule up in our office, and Nate and I spent a lot of time together. Nate was just looking at the games that one, the Washington, we would have got that rebound. And I'm like, yo, stop. Stop. They're done, right? It's ODU right now. That's the only thing any of us can control. Our players, tomorrow's practice, Wednesday's off, Thursday practice, Friday practice, Saturday at 7, first possession at ODU. That's where we got to get as a program.
Where does that come from? Because not every coach is able to do that, to keep as calm and as even keel after a win and loss. Now, you've only been through 8 games as a head coach, so maybe it changes as it goes along, but it seems like you're a guy who's going to kind of stick to that. Where does that come from in your background? Because the little bit that I know about Coach Barnes, I don't think Coach Barnes is necessarily as even keel as you are.
Yeah, no, he is in a way. He is in a way. He's not as emotional. He is emotional and very hard-nosed, but he studies film. That's probably the one thing I learned from him the most, is I can keep a clear mind because I watch so much film. I know our team better than anyone. I really feel good about our opponents. I know what we're doing in games and what we need to work on in practice to improve, but I want our team to take after me. And when I had my most success as a player, it was when I was dialed into the moment. I don't think I've told our guys this story yet. I will soon, probably before a big game, but we were at Fog Allen Fieldhouse. We were maybe number 4, they were number 6 or something like that. And we had never won there, and it's a hard place to play. And before the game, I kind of just grabbed the guys and I was like, let's play this game and don't look at the score. Let's not look at the score. Let's just, on defense, for one possession, 35 seconds at the time, let's do whatever we can do to get a stop, to contest the shot as good as we can, to box out to get a defensive rebound. I said, then when we get the rebound, let's go to offense and let's just focus on getting the best shot that we can possibly get. And that's it. That's the only thing we focus on. And everyone was like, and so as I was telling this story, the guys in our huddle were kind of, they started to say, score, stop, score, stop, score. And we did that, and we did not look at the scoreboard for the first 20 minutes of that game. I think we went into the half up 11. That team went to the national championship game. In the second half, we kept doing it, and we got up 19 in Fog Allen Fieldhouse with like 12 to go. Two of our best players got in foul trouble out the game. We had to go deep into our bench. They ended up coming back, beating us in overtime. But that moment had a really big moment in my mind of like, what is truly like to experience elite basketball, and it's everything. It's biblical, like, right? The serenity prayer, like, grant me the serenity to what is it? Grant me the serenity to control the things I can. The I don't know what it is, but it's something like that. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll talk about Old Dominion here coming up. Also, Ticket Gaines is with us. He's going to be our guest in the second half of the show, but right now I need to thank our sponsors, as always, SN Mortgage Company, George Mason Basketball Coaches Show with Kim English, presented by SN Mortgage Company. SN Mortgage Company, start your journey home today. Security National Mortgage Company is an equal housing lender. Company NMLS 3116. All right, Coach, we can put all those 8 games aside.
Let's get the serenity prayer.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, pull that out for you.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the thing I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
You talked about it. You now can only concentrate on the first possession of the next game, which is Saturday, coming up December 4th. Back at home, Eagle Bank Arena against Old Dominion. Old CAA rival from back in the day, maybe not as big as JMU, but certainly a big-time rival. What can you tell us about the Monarchs this year?
They're an old team. They have 4 6-year guys. A guy that I recruited 6 years ago, CJ Kaiser, when I was at Tulsa. He's went on to play at Wichita State. Averaged 12 a game last year at North Carolina Central. Now he's at ODU. Another kid I recruited at Tulsa and Colorado, Charles Smith, who committed to Cal, ended up playing at SMU. So a veteran bunch, have had some up and downs this season. They're old and capable. So again, a good opponent. ODU, Navy. I think all 3 of those teams are better than our first 3 opponents, especially as far as Kim Pond rates them.
When you look at a team like Old Dominion, you talk about them being veteran. Again, guys that didn't play their entire careers at Old Dominion. When you watch them on film, can you kind of see, almost like with your team, there is some, these guys haven't played together before. You can see little things here and there. You're like, the chemistry's not right there, but they're going to be good once they figure it out. They
are going to be good. I think they're getting there right now. Right. They've been competitive. They had a really good win against Longwood the other day, a buzzer beater win. Coach Jones drew up a great play at the end for them to get the win, 62-61 over Longwood. They do some different things defensively. They play some 1-3-1 zone. They switch a lot. They run a lot of really good sets. So it's going to be good for us. It's going to be a test and a challenge and a really, really, really important game.
How much, when you have a team that does change up defenses, how much extra time or different time, I guess it wouldn't be extra time, but different time in practice, where if you know going into a game, okay, this team is 95% man-to-man, that's all you're going to see. And then other times you're like, okay, they play like 30% man, they're going to play like 35% 1-3-1. They might throw some 2-3 in there. How much do you have to necessarily prepare for that, or do you guys have just set standards? Okay, if they're in a 1-3-1, this is what we're running. If they're in a 2-3, this is what we're running, and it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, no, our flow offense, our play the game offense, it works against every defense. I think we struggled a little bit against Washington zone. It's so different. 2 teams in the country run that type of defense, and they have great athleticism and length, and it's different. It's different. I feel like once we settled into it, we got going. We scored 51 in the second half against them. I feel like against teams that change defense, we have an offense. We have a set offense that I got from Coach Barnes that we can run against any defense. You can run against man. You can run against 2-3. You can run against a 1-3-1. You can run against a 3-2. You can run against a boxing 1. And when we see teams changing defenses against us, we'll go to that offense and our guys flow into it. fairly well.
When you have a team like Old Dominion, again, an older team, is there some thought that they're going to be harder to disrupt in the things that you're going to do? Do you think that you have to come up with some little twist, whether it's how you're defending their ball screens, whether how they're going to defend you, or is it just, hey, you know what, sixth-year guy or first-year guy, we've got to attack them the same way?
We got to do what we think's best for us, to compete for championships and continue to build this program. And it's us working on our habit. If a team has a special player, and honestly, Grant Sherfield was that special of a player. We probably should have adjusted to what he was doing quicker. We didn't. It's the hardest thing in coaching, right? It's like, should we change or could we do it better?
Right.
That's the question of coaching. And I think the stubbornness of coaches is always like, no, we just need to do it better, and that's probably right. But in the moment, adjusting to a special player is probably right. NBA coaches tend to game plan and throw something different at a special player. Great college coaches, Bo Ryan, Sean Miller, Greg Marshall, Jim Larinaga. Those guys, they're going to do what they do, and we're going to just do it better. Tend to. So I gotta find our happy ground in that regard.
Now, I know you're concentrating on Old Dominion, but we also have Navy coming in next Tuesday, a week and a day from now, on December 7th. Always nice when you have the military academies come in for those games. It's always a unique experience to see what those guys have gone, are going through and still playing college athletics. And it just happens to be on Pearl Harbor Day, which is just kind of a quirk in the scheduling. But what's the philosophy on playing military academies, whether it's Air Force? I'm sure you guys probably have, when you were Colorado, may have played Air Force out there. Army, this Navy team coming across. Obviously, it's great because they're just over in Annapolis. The women's team was just there for the Navy women's team tournament over this past weekend. What's the mindset in bringing those type of teams in? It's
a good opponent. I mean, we're bringing in a team that went and won at Virginia, right? We're bringing in a team that beat Furman, who went and won at Louisville. So we're bringing in a very, very capable opponent. Those guys played here a few years ago. I went to start to watch that game earlier, and they were here as younger players. I played against Coach DeShellis when he was at Navy my senior year in college. Again, played against the Air Force. Great respect, the Citadel. I mean, great respect for those service academy and the commitment that those young men make. Got to get through ODU first, but a very quality opponent we're going to have on December 7th.
And that's a good thing you speak to that, because they're going to UVA and winning, and we know Tony Bennett's going to get those guys going. They've already started to defend better than they were at the beginning of the year, so they're probably going to end up an NCAA tournament team. When you look at the numbers, and I know you're a big analytics guy, I think there's some fans, and I got texts from friends of mine, they're like, oh my gosh, lost all three in South Dakota. And then I go and look on Ken Palm, which I know you love, and I think we dropped 5 spots from where we were after Maryland. So those losses really, in the overall scheme of things, haven't hurt that much when you look at the analytic numbers.
Scheduling is the second most important thing we do. I wanted those games for a reason. I knew that they'd be great wins. I also know that there's another side to winning, there's losing. And we were 138 in Ken Palm after beating Maryland, and we were trending in the right direction. We're 142 today.
That's a 4.
So we dropped 4 spots in Ken Palm against a team in Washington that's going to have great quality wins in the Pac-12. Nevada is going to get going, as you saw in South Dakota. They're going to have great wins in the Mountain West. And Ken Palm doesn't think South Dakota is going to lose a game in their league. So no one wants to lose. No one wants to lose, but we're not dumb in the schedule that we choose. It's the reason why I want to play power teams in the non-conference. It's because what a win like Maryland does for us. What a win like Washington or a win like South Dakota State could have done for us. And the flip side, all you got to do is go look at the Tennessee Volunteers schedule this season. At Colorado, Texas Tech, Memphis, Arizona. It's Villanova, North Carolina. It's one thing that I got from Coach Barnes, especially. Every year we create the schedule, we're going to try to give us, a chance to get in that large bid. Now again, it didn't work out. You know, the Maryland game was supposed to be Monday. It got moved to the Morgan State game was supposed to be another day. The Maryland game was supposed to be a Monday. Tried to change the James Madison game because I really wanted those 3 games against good opponents. We couldn't change the dates, so it ended up a really tough stretch, which was unfortunate. But we're still on the way where we need to be and becoming a better team.
Well, still great to start the season with the 4 wins and didn't play poorly out in South Dakota. Just a couple shots here and there, and might have come back with a 2-1 record.
Rebounds here and there. Yeah. You know, we got to miss. It was a 1-point game against Washington, and our great guest that we're about to bring on doesn't look at his man and box out, and he gives up an offensive rebound, which could have given Davon Cooper another chance to bang a big 3. Yeah, we're gonna keep getting better.
All right, so we'll bring that guest on. Ticket Gaines is going to join us real quick. Once again, let's thank our sponsor, SN Mortgage Company. The George Mason Basketball Coaches Show with Kim English is presented by SN Mortgage Company. SN Mortgage Company, start your journey home today. Security National Mortgage Company is an equal housing lender company. NMLS 3116. Coming up next, Ticket Gaines joins us. Welcome back here on the Kim English Coaches Show. I'm Bill Rohland, along with the coach Kim English. Our special guest, Monte Gaines, the ticket. 11.8 points, 8.4 rebounds a contest so far, 28 of 32 from the free throw line. Coach doesn't like for me to talk about that because he says I jinx you all the time with it. But you're making 87.5%. I'll take that being called a jinx if you're going to hit 87% the rest of the way. 12 of 19 from behind the arc right now in the season, 63%, and playing almost 30 minutes a game. Ticket, thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate you coming by.
Thank you for having me.
I asked the same thing to Coach English, so I'll ask you to get started. How was your Thanksgiving? Did you get home to see family, friends?
I went home to see family. It was pretty good. Got some good food. Got to watch the Bills win. So it was always a good time.
You're a Buffalo guy, so you're very happy with the Bills winning, so that's a good thing. How miserably cold was it, though, in Buffalo? Because it is November. It's got to be cold by now.
Yeah, it was snowing for a while, for a couple of days, but it was super cold. It was crazy.
Hopefully you guys can leave the snow up there. First thing, right out of the gate, everybody wants to know, where did the name Ticket come from?
So when I was younger, about 9 years old, it was my first AAU trip. I started playing for my local AAU team. We was on the car ride back home from, I think, Syracuse. And one of the older players played like 17 under. I was like, when you get to the NBA, we need tickets to your game. And then after a while, somebody said, oh, that's your nickname. We're going to call you Ticket. So like ever since I was probably 9 or 10, that's been my name.
That's kind of a heady nickname, Coach, to be told at 9 or 10 years old that somebody's going to need tickets to your NBA games.
I know. Well, maybe after Kevin Garnett, big ticket. So
that's part of it.
There you go. All right, so you've played your first couple years at Tennessee. End up entering the transfer portal. Coach English gets his head coaching job. Now, I'm not sure on the timeline. Were you in the portal before he was named head coach, or did that happen after? Do you remember the timeline?
Exactly.
Okay, so he gets the coaching job. and then you entered the portal.
Yeah.
What was the conversation like for him to get you to come to George Mason? Talk to me about what that situation was.
I mean, honestly, it didn't have to be much conversation. It was kind of like a no-brainer for me. When you got the job, I talked to my parents about it. Well, about entering the portal first, things like that. And I mean, he was always just at the top of the list, just from being around him. So.
Who initiated the conversation?
Me.
You did. What was your pitch, I guess, to come to George Mason?
You want to know the truth?
Yeah, absolutely.
I called him. I said, "Ticket, you ready?" He was like, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah," and that was it.
It wasn't much conversation.
That was it.
That was just it.
That was the conversation.
You and I have had the conversation.
I had to get here, and honestly, I had to get Ticket. Experienced one of my toughest things I've ever seen in coaching. He's a great teammate. He's tough. He's about all the right things, and he played 30 seconds, one game, the SEC semifinals against Alabama. He sat on the bench the entire game. We needed a stop in the worst way. I asked Coach Barnes. Coach Barnes was like, "What do you think? Who can we put in? We can't guard this guy, Herb Jones, the SEC Player of the Year." And I said to Coach Barnes, "We can put in Ticket. Ticket will get a stop." We put in Ticket. We get him on the guy we need. We know they're going to set a screen, a switch. Ticket switch on him. He gets the stop. We're down 2. We're down 1 or 2 with 20-some seconds left. He gets fouled. He goes to the free throw line. I knew it was, it's a tough spot for an absolute knockdown, great shooter to be in. He was developing as a shooter, and he missed both free throws. He was crushed, devastated. And it wasn't his fault why we lost, just like I talked about earlier. It's so many other things that happened in that game of why we lost to Alabama that night. But the NCAA wanted us to stay in Nashville. They didn't want us to go home because of COVID. They wanted us to come right to the NCAA tournament from the SEC tournament. So we had a day off, essentially, in Nashville that Saturday. So we went to Vanderbilt to get a little workout, and it was really light. We played 3-on-3. I jumped into 3-on-3. Some guys were shooting around. Some guys watched film. Some guys were stretching. And it got a pretty aggressive 3-on-3 game. And Ticket was hooping in the 3-on-3. He was hooping. And, I had a good hunch that I would be involved with some jobs. And while I was watching him play, I was thinking to myself, like, man, wherever I end up going, I'm taking Ticket. If he decides to leave Tennessee.
Right.
And he did. Now it wasn't immediate because I got here. I had to learn our roster, see what we had to make sure it was space. But after I learned what we had and what we were losing, I thought it would be a great opportunity. I thought it was a really good need for what he is, a skilled, positionless wing who's tough and aggressive. And obviously I knew his offensive upside was a lot more than his numbers at Tennessee showed because I got to watch him every day in practice at Tennessee.
You had 3 straight double-doubles at one point earlier in the season. Obviously, you not surprised at that, but what would you say to maybe fans back in Tennessee that all of a sudden see your numbers that are eye-popping to them because you didn't get necessarily the time that you maybe should have or didn't get it at Tennessee. So how has that worked for you now to be a guy who's getting 30 minutes a night and is expected to be a leader? What's that transformation been like rather than a guy who, Coach English said, hey, he can get us a stop, but you're only in for, 35, 40 seconds of a game?
It definitely was a different transition after playing Tennessee for 2 years. Like you said, not playing 30 minutes a game, something like that. So I think it was a smooth transition when you have a coaching staff that believes in you. I just feel like it was just a great opportunity for me to come here and play. And Coach trusted me, putting me in that position to play 30 minutes. So just being able to show my skill set, like you said, 3 straight double-doubles, whatever. But I just feel like just me being on that platform with the guys that we got, they really helped me a lot with confidence, things like that. So.
What's the next challenge, though?
Defense.
And to do it more, to not just exist and take the minutes, but to be more productive in the minutes for what he does best, and that is defense. So I'm on Ticket hard, and it's going to be a lot better. It's getting those minutes, and now it's learning how not to just exist in those minutes, but be productive in those minutes on both sides of the ball, and that is new. It's different. Young guys like a freshman a little bit. That's playing big minutes. You have to. A lot of our guys are going through that. Not just him. Deshaun was a good main player at Colorado, but now he's dependent on to be one of the guys. Like
Right.
Josh is expected to carry a heavy load. I'm learning Davon Cooper's win and load. Like I've said from day one, we weren't going to have a big rotation. Our rotation is going to be 7, 8, 9, right? That makes practices incredibly competitive if you want to be in that rotation. But with that comes great responsibility and learning how to play, how to rest, when to rest within live action, at the free throw line, during timeouts, what you need to do so that when you're on the court, you can go full tilt. Because what we can't afford is to have big minute guys take breaks during live action. And that's honestly, when I talk about habits, that's been the breakdown of a lot of our habits. It's fatigue based.
Tell you, what's the one thing that you hear from him all the time that you're almost in the back of your head when he starts going into it, you're like, oh my gosh, this again? Is it breaking habits? Is it anything? I mean, what is it that he's talked about to you guys that you're like, oh my gosh, here we go again? Knowing obviously that you need to hear it, but you're like, okay, he's on this again.
Habits, one of them. Toughness is one of the things he preaches a lot. Getting outside of yourself, he talks about that a lot. Being there for your teammates. So.
Let me ask you a couple questions we have from the audience here. Paul wants to know, for Ticket, what are some of your interests off the court? Favorite hobbies, movies, TV shows? What are you doing other than basketball?
Really just watching TV shows. I like kind of like crime, mystery type of things. So either I'm watching Netflix, playing a game, doing homework, stuff like that.
Have you seen True Story yet, Kevin?
I didn't finish it. Yeah, I heard it was. Don't even start.
I thought he was going to ask you why aren't you watching more film, but
outside of basketball.
I know, but he's probably thinking there shouldn't be anything outside of basketball. You should be watching the film. This is the first year players are allowed to profit from name, image, likeness. And I know you're a guy who's gotten into that space. Tell me about what you're doing as far as that, because you started a clothing company, right? You're doing some things with that. Tell us about what's going on there. And does Coach have any of your gear?
I'm a customer. I am a customer.
But yeah, with NIL, I think it's great that came out. Obviously, I would say that because I'm a player.
Well,
but,
of course, yeah. You got to make your cash, man.
But I started a clothing brand. Kind of just, I don't know. It was just kind of just a thought that I had always had growing up too. Just seeing a lot of older guys I had ahead of me start their own business. So I want to think the NIL stuff came out. It was great for me to start a clothing brand. Got with my brother and my family, talked to them about it, and ended up starting.
What kind of stuff? I mean, is it like sportswear? What are you guys doing?
We got a lot of apparel like sweatsuits, t-shirts, shorts, hats, things like that.
How's successful so far? You
Yeah,
doing well?
we're doing all right.
All right, just making sure. Christmas is coming. Maybe people are out there looking for gifts, so I just want to make sure that you've got something going. Yeah.
Link in your Instagram bio.
Link is in my Instagram bio for the website if you want to get some Christmas gifts.
All right. Well, what's the Instagram handle?
Hollywood_ticket0.
Hollywood_ticket0. I'm not even going to ask about the Hollywood part of it. All right. Abby wants to know, what led you, this is for both of you guys, what led you to basketball and when did you start playing?
It was kind of weird because my whole family played football growing up. Like every one of my family, I can't think of one person who played basketball. But I probably played since I was 4. My mom got me into this league. I had a basketball court right across the street, and every summer we had like it's called the Randy Smith League. And my mom got me into it at 4. I was smaller than everybody at that time, but I was still playing, and just grew from there.
You just fell in love. Did you ever play football at all?
I played football for a couple years, middle school, and right before high school. When I got to high school, we didn't have a football team. We had a flag football team, which I played, but we didn't have no contact football.
You're probably better off not putting on all the pads and everything else, right? Yeah, a lot of basketball guys don't necessarily want to do the football thing. Coach, what about you? What led you to basketball? When did you start that whole thing?
I started when I was 12. It's what you did. Growing up in Baltimore, played and outside, played at rec centers, and just fell in love with the game. And very thankful for the game. Keep me, out of trouble and focus in school and changed my life. Right? I mean, free college. I feel like I've never worked a day in my life. Like I get to coach and play basketball and make a living. It's it's you got to pinch yourself sometimes to think that this is really what you're doing, and these guys have the opportunities to do it for the rest of their lives. Play as long as they can, coach, agent, broadcast, whatever you want. Like, this beautiful game has given us a tremendous opportunity to get out of the inner city and see the world.
I know you've still got a couple of years left, but what are your plans down the road as far as, obviously, like Coach said, you want to play as long as you can, but have you thought, would you follow in Coach English's footsteps and try to coach, or is that not even a thought right now?
No, it's definitely, I mean, the ball does stop bouncing some days, so you have to have a idea of what you want to do, but I definitely want to get into coaching further down the road after I finish playing.
Yeah, I didn't know if this entrepreneurial thing with the clothing line, if you're going to take that route, or if you actually wanted to stay in basketball.
I definitely want to
stay in basketball. All right, very good. Coach, real quick, what was the most points you ever scored in a game? High school, college?
35 in high school, 29 like 3 times in college.
This man dropped 50 points 3 different times in high school. I'm not saying anything, but that's.
I'm not on his level. I know that. That's fine. I've accepted that. I'm not on Ticket. I mean, my name's Kim. His name's Ticket.
52 points, your career high in high school. And then let me read some of these other numbers, which, again, fascinating. 22 double-doubles, which, again, in high school, a lot of guys, especially when you're probably 6'6", 6'7" in high school, right? So, you know, double-doubles, that's pretty easy. 4 triple-doubles. Okay, that's a little tougher. And then he had 3 or 4 quad doubles, Coach.
Turnovers or
no. He tells me it's points, rebounds, steals, and block shots.
I think he was dating a girl that kept the book too, so she was kind of smudging some of those numbers. But you know, yeah, I don't know. But again, I can't compete. I can't compete at all with any of that. I don't know any of my high school numbers. I know we won a state championship in 2007. That's all I know.
You got him right there.
Yeah, you got him on the state championship. There you go. Team sport, right? You're trying to win the title. It's not about who scores the most points. He's a hard-nosed guy. Goes hard all the time, and the fans have loved him for it. Is that something you saw in the practices at Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, and in the games, the games he played. I would remember I was, Nate and I talked a lot, always, and I always knew that Nate was going to be on our staff one day, and I remember just sitting like maybe last season, middle of last season, maybe the end of last season. I just was watching a random Auburn game, Auburn, Tennessee, when he was a freshman, and he absolutely changed the complexity of the game with his cutting and his energy and his effort, his offensive rebound. He got a really good post trap. We actually showed the guys the clips of him against Auburn when we were preparing for our defense versus Wahab from Maryland, and it just that's what he is. That's what he is. And my biggest thing, and as players grow and expand their games, you better not lose what made you great. And as he's scoring offense, that's great. I expected him to do what he's doing on offense, but Ticket better not lose the defensive edge that he has and being a leader on that end of the court, possession by possession. And that's my challenge and charge to him here moving forward.
What about it, Ticket? Where did that come from? Was that just something from the time you were a little kid? Did you have like older brothers, so you felt like you had to compete with them more, cousins? Where does that drive to go as hard as you can every single day on the court? Where does that come from?
I definitely come from, I say from family, starting off when I was younger. But I had a lot of older brothers, 3 older brothers I lived with. So I was always the smallest. So it was kind of like, you had to be tough, like where I was from and things like that. So I just feel like that just poured over into my game, and it just became who I was as a player. And
as we continue to grow the program, it's going to stop being uncommon. It's going to stop being uncommon for one player that, oh my goodness, he plays hard. We want them to say that about the totality of the group. Guys that we currently have, and we continue to build them and mold them and to be, the players that we want them to be, especially on the defensive end, but also the players that we bring in. They better be out of that mode, incredibly tough and competitive and hardworking. We want 13 guys to be like that, not one guy to be like that.
All right, Coach, this one is for you. It's from Matt Rice. He wants to know, how did the relationship with you and Ticket inspire you? We talked a little bit about this, but inspire you to bring him to George Mason? Obviously you said you knew back in February that you would probably, March, that you're probably going to be interested in jobs. But
again, when you get to a place, you want to figure out. It was no getting to know, right? I knew him for 2 seasons. I was there the first day he got on campus at Knoxville in May, and I was there throughout his entire 2-year career at at Tennessee. When we got here, you look at the roster. There's some guys that are currently on the team that you're trying to convince to stay, but after a while, like I said, I didn't recruit long. Right, I knew that the guys that I needed to coach really, really wanted to be here, and after a couple of days, some guys moved on, and completely respected that decision. That opened up an opportunity for both of us, for us to get a really good player. He had other opportunities, really good opportunities within our league. We could have been playing against Ticket in the A-10. I just knew when it was time. We had the upper leg to that other A-10 or those other A-10 programs to have him come here. I knew it would be a perfect fit. Once I decided that Ticket was the right fit, I called Josh, I called Deshaun, I called Coop right away, let those guys know about him. I got a video made of him to show those guys, who we thought was our core. And it was a perfect marriage, and all of his teammates love him. They respect him. They're happy for him, and they all wear his Hollywood Entertainment gear all over Fairfax.
When he talks about that, when you hear him saying that he reached out to Josh and Deshaun and all the guys that he was bringing in, how easy was it for you to blend in with the guys that stayed, like Jamal Hartwell and X and everything, and blend the guys that were coming in? Especially when you had the relationship with Coach English, did those guys ever come to you and say, okay, what should we expect? What are we getting into? What's this going to be like?
I think early on, like when I first got to campus, I got those questions, like it just asked about trying to get to know them, like the players trying to get to know them more, off the court, things like that. But I feel like I gel with the guys quick. I room with X and Josh, so I met them like as soon as I got to campus. So it was kind of easy just coming together with those guys. We practice every day, then hang out in the summer. So I feel like it was a smooth transition because the guys were so selfless, brought us in, brought the transfers in, the freshmen. We all just came together. And I think it was an easy transition.
You did your prep year at Hargrave Military Academy. So military school, you're rooming with Josh and X. Are you the one that's making sure everything's clean, or did that go out the window as soon as you got out of the prep school?
No. I'm still on that. Make sure everything's clean. Make sure I clean up my rooms, do stuff like that before I leave. So.
Is there one of those guys that's messier than the other one? Yeah. I mean, you don't have to route them out. You can just say yes, and we can leave it at that, just knowing that there's one that's messier than the other one, and we'll leave it that way.
I don't know. I don't really go into their room, so I don't know.
Fair enough. So going back to Hargrave, when you're there, you're coming as a high school kid from Buffalo. You're down here, Military Academy. How much of a culture shock was that to suddenly be like, okay, it's up at whatever time it is every single day, all the discipline. I'm sure which you look back at it now, you say that probably has helped me in my college basketball career. But at the time, how miserable was that for a kid coming down from Buffalo?
I mean, it was crazy. As soon as we got to campus, like they took our phones. That was the first thing they took. Like they got our name, we wrote our name down on a little piece of paper. He's like, all right, we need your phone. Like before we even got to the room, so I didn't have my phone for like a month. So we just had to like really just be there. I wake up at 6 a.m., make our bed. We had room inspections every day, so our captain would come in our room, check our room, make sure our room clean. Our bed had to be folded a certain way, so things like that. Being up at 6:05 in front of the building to march to breakfast, lunch, dinner, things like that. It was a crazy experience, especially coming from high school into a military school. I had to cut your hair off, wear a uniform, wear a suit every day. It was wild.
Glad those good days are behind you.
Yeah.
It seems like
We lose another game, we might have to go. The hair might have to go.
But coaches talked about how even keel he is after wins, after losses, everything else. Is that your experience as a player? Do you see that, okay, even though we have not played well, we didn't get the result that we wanted, say out in South Dakota, that he's still the same guy the next day at practice, while he's trying to get us better and making our habits, as he said, some guys need some habits changed. It's still the same Coach English as he was, say, maybe on November 1st before the season had even started.
No, for sure. He's definitely the same person. Like you said, treating wins and losses the same. Even wins, you still have things you have to get better from, and obviously losses, you see what went wrong in the game and things like that. So I feel like he does treat those the same, as far as taking things from that game that we as a team has to get better at.
Have you seen a difference in him from being the assistant coach at Tennessee to being a head coach as far as his demeanor on the bench? You and I talked about it at the beginning. You weren't sure if you're going to be a guy that stood, if you're going to be a guy that sat, if you're going to be a yeller. You weren't sure. Have you kind of seen the difference in him as he's developed into a head coach?
I mean, I said Tennessee, he was kind of hands-on with everything. So practices and stuff like that, sometimes he'd jump in practice, things like that. So, I mean, I feel like it hasn't really changed much, having been a head coach. I mean, obviously him standing on the sideline, the energy he brings to the sideline, just trying to get us going, things like that, that's changed because he's the head coach now, stuff like that. But, I mean, I feel like it's the same, getting better every day, things like that, bringing that energy, bringing that passion to the game, injecting that into us. I feel like it's been a smooth transition and it hasn't much really changed. He's still like the same coach.
He's still the best shooter in the gym?
I haven't seen him shoot in a while.
But I mean, I know he and Coach Nate have a little thing.
Nah, he can shoot, but I haven't seen him shoot in a while. So.
Yeah, I'm the best shooter in the program.
That's the way it's supposed to be. Very good. Ticket, thank you for coming by. We appreciate it. You got Old Dominion coming up on Saturday. We hope everybody will come out 7 p.m. Eagle Bank Arena, check you guys out, and then the following Tuesday against Navy. Coach, number 3 in the books. We appreciate it. We'll do this again coming up soon. And good luck on Saturday and Tuesday. And then a little break so you guys can study and get your exam stuff done. That's the most important thing for the grades and everything else. And then a couple more games before the Christmas holiday.
That's right. Next stretch.
It's coming up. Thanks everybody here at Glory Days Grill who came out to see us tonight. We appreciate it. And for all of you that watch at home on Facebook Live and YouTube as well, once again, thanks to SN Mortgage Company, the George Mason Basketball Coaches Show with Kim English, presented by SN Mortgage Company. SN Mortgage Company, start your journey home today. Security National Mortgage Company is an equal housing lender company, NMLS 3116. Also, if you're looking for tickets, Mason fans, season tickets, mini plans, and individual game tickets are available now. Call the Mason Ticket Office at 703-993-3270 or visit gomason.com for more information. Again, next game coming up Saturday against Old Dominion, 7 p.m. at Eagle Bank Arena. We hope to see you there.